Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Towns. In the previous episode we were working on our power suit components. We're over in West Point and we now have some shields made, so I start putting them into the power suit. We have 8 so far and that should be enough to keep us alive in a biter base. Maybe not some of the larger ones, we might struggle if we hang around too long, but at this point we are pretty much ready, I think, to go into the middle of a bunch of biter bases and burn them to the ground. So before we do that, I do a little bit of work in West Point, continuing to upgrade the production rate of steel. I'm getting fed up of how long it's taking. As it turns out, you need a lot more steel than I expected to keep all the assemblers running. Well, to keep the one assembler running. There is only one assembler that actually uses steel that is active at the moment. It's the one making the level 1 shield, to which you need 10 to make a level 2 shield. And it's just taking so long for the supply to actually be made that I keep putting more steel into the system or putting more steel production. But we're nearly there now. We are more than halfway there in terms of the shields that we need for the power suit. So at this point we can probably set off and start testing it out. Though first I'm just checking on the ammo delivery system, making sure there's enough ammo getting put into the system. I realised that there's a little bit of a bottleneck at the unloading point because they didn't put any buffer chests in. So the train's taking a while to fill the system back up again after some of the ammo has been used up, but it should be enough that there isn't any problem keeping the turrets supplied while the wall is actually defending against biter attacks. Maybe we'll still put some chests in the future though, just to be sure. But anyway, we hop in the tank to make our way towards the end of the wall, but then I think, why have I even brought the tank? There's not really any point. The entire reason I got this power suit set up was so I didn't need the tank anymore and that I would be able to shoot flames while I'm walking around outside. So let's try it, and we run at the nearest base and start burning it to the ground. It goes pretty well. We take very little shield damage. We take out all the bases. There's just 2 worms left and we very quickly deal with those, and let's carry on. Seems like it's working. Let's finally have our revenge on all these biters for their constant trouble they've been causing across the county for so long now. We long ago lost control of the rate of expansion the bases were keeping up, and they just kept pushing further and further in, causing more and more trouble, doing more and more damage to the towns. Finally, we can push back. Finally, we can clear them out of our territory that we've decided is ours, that was previously theirs, and not have to worry about them quite so much anymore. So yeah, we just keep going. It's working. We don't have all the shields yet, but it is enough that we're able to get on with what we've been waiting for ages. And you see that the behemoth biters take a while to deal with. Even when they're on fire, they're still chasing you for a good long while. But we should still be able to deal with them fairly well. It is quite... fire is just super useful for taking out the bases, because once something is on fire, it never stops burning. The only case where something can stop is a tree, and if it does, it just becomes a burned tree. And that's only a small handful. Usually they'll just burn completely. So as soon as you set a base on fire, it is doomed, and as soon as you set a behemoth biter on fire, it is also doomed. It's just a case of waiting for it to burn for long enough for that to happen. And it means you can be really efficient with the ammo as well. Like with the shotgun, when you run to the middle of a biter base, you just start firing it non-stop until you're done. Whereas with a flamethrower, you just need to fire a little bit at each of the bases, and then at the chasing behemoths, and eventually everything will be dead. So you only need a small amount of the ammo to work, which is good, because we did only bring 1 stack with us on this particular mission. I forgot to gather some more before I actually went out killing biters, so we're already halfway through what we have or more. So I'm just, as we go along, I can get used to using it and get used to using the minimal amount and still be able to do the maximum damage. And you can see there's quite a lot of behemoths in some of these bases, but the number is irrelevant. As soon as you're running away, you can outrun them because they're larger. You can't outrun the mediums and the smalls, but the big biters and the behemoths don't seem to be able to quite keep up with you. The big biters might be slightly quicker than you, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure actually whether they're affected by terrain either, whether they walk slower on desert or not. I'll have to, I guess, do a bit of testing with that. I know that they are pushed along by belts and things like that, so even if you hop onto a belt to try and run away from them, as long as they hop onto the belt as well, you're still in trouble. But we're tackling larger and larger bases here as we make our way inwards towards the middle of the county, and these are sort of all the bases that I would have dealt with earlier, but were too big for the turret creeping method. And that was part of the thing of like the turret creeping could only get you so far, and it was really, really difficult with the larger bases. It could still be done, but it got harder the more there was to deal with. Plus, in I think it's either the most recent patch or in 0.15, there's been talk of adding a setup time for turrets so that it's harder to do turret creeping. It would still work mostly for the method that I use, because it would just mean that I think after you initially place the turret down, it takes a while to start working properly. But once it is down, it works fine, so you just have to creep more slowly, and it should still be okay. Anyway, we're getting very close to running out of our ammo now. We're into single digits with the number of flamethrower tanks we have left. I think we're down to 4 or something. It's hard to tell. I can't see this at a very high resolution when I do the post commentary, unfortunately, which is weird. It used to be that it did work, but for some reason it's been blurry more recently. Don't know what I changed. But anyway, I decided to make my way back to West Point now. We are very low on ammo. It's probably not a good idea to engage any more biters, but unfortunately I try and sneak between 2 bases, and as it turns out the gap is a little bit too small, and I end up aggroing both of them at the same time. So we stopped for a minute to deal with those. Luckily there weren't any behemoths involved in that. There were just big biters, and nothing bigger than that, so it wasn't too much of a problem to deal with them. But yeah, we're very low on ammo now, so we'll have to make our way over to Frackham, where we have our ammo production currently set up. So we'll park the tank back up by West Point. We shouldn't need to use that anymore. We shouldn't need to use any of the tanks anymore, really, which is nice. We can retire them, and I don't think there's any particular use for them now. I mean, if we could get the actual cannon shells for them, that could come in useful, because they have a longer range than biter aggro ranges, I think. They definitely have a longer range than worms, at least, so you can use them to deal with worms without any danger of being attacked. But with the power suit being as strong as it is, that shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, we get some more shields from West Point when we arrive. There is now only 1 more shield required to finish upgrading the suit, which is pretty awesome, so we don't need to worry anymore about boosting the steel supply so much. But we do still need steel for battery production. Not that that's particularly important at the moment, but we might want some more in the future, and it's nice to build up a good supply. Like if trains get what do you call them? I forget what the name of them, but if they get power suit slots as well. The equipment grid, that's what it is. If in the vanilla game the trains and the cars and such get equipment slots, then it could be useful to have some already in storage. So I keep the shield production going as well. It also helps if you happen to die, and well, actually no, that will only be in multiplayer, of course. In single player, if you die, the game ends, so that wouldn't work. But it's nice to have multiple power suits as well. That's what I have in Railworld, where I use one that's super bulky and one that is a little bit lighter in terms of shielding, but is quicker, and that's the one I usually use around the base. It's got a few exoskeleton legs in it to help move quicker, because the movement speed in towns has been really frustrating for a very long time. It's not so bad for you because everything's in triple speed, but when I'm used to walking around in Railworlds and then I go to towns, it is just so frustratingly slow walking anywhere, and there's desert everywhere as well, which makes it even worse. Plus the lack of stone means I don't have very much in the way of concrete paving to help speed things up. So yeah, walking speed is an absolute pain in towns. It'll be nice to finally get rid of that once I actually have some electric engines with which I can make the exoskeleton legs. Anyway, up to Ironwood now. We decided to just carry on from Frackham, seeing as that's where we were. We went and got 4 stacks of ammo, so that should be enough, I think, to deal with all the remaining biter bases within our territory. And there's no, seeing as we're going to be dealing with all of them, there's no particular urgent need to go in a certain direction, I don't think, so we'll just start from the nearest base and go from there, loop all the way around the south until we're pretty much done. And yeah, I'm just dealing with any biter bases within pollution range so that we don't have any more attacks on our towns. I mean, they'll still happen because the biters will start colonizing again. We're leaving alone the ones that are outside pollution range by more than a small amount. So they will recolonize, and then the biters from the new bases built will start attacking the towns again. But it'll be back to the old days where it was just a little bit of attacking, and it really wasn't a problem, instead of the huge large-scale assaults that towns have been receiving more recently, with large numbers of behemoths like I'm being chased by here. And then we can start working on the walls again. We can go back to, we've basically been on hold for a long time now, just constantly either dealing with biters or trying to work on things that'll get us the parachute sorted. And we can basically just pick up where we left off and start working on the walls again. It was when we were building the walls that that things started to go wrong, that the biters started to advance too much in the east, and I didn't have enough time to deal with them anymore, because I was trying to deal with the biters in the west and building the wall, and then I realized I needed the parachute to really advance, so on and so forth. Suddenly we'll have a moment of calm so that we can actually work on our towns again. And once we have the walls properly set up, we're still working on them in the west, we'll have even more time on our hands, because we won't have to constantly deal with new biter bases springing up. The wall will defend against that. So continuing along with pollution, I end up going a bit off course here and start working back again, because I realise I've missed a couple of bases that are a little bit too close for comfort. I think I go a little bit like beyond the pollution range here, just because I'm sort of re-establishing previous lines. This was as far as the cleared area went previously, so I'm sort of going back to that and keeping it like that again. And we're now in the south east section. Everything's sort of nicely split up by lakes, though this is still sort of more just due east, because the lake is more to the north. We need to do more exploring of the lakes. That's the thing. Now that we have the parachute, we'll be able to actually just go wandering out into the middle of the wilderness without too much concern about being killed by biters. And we'll be able to see just how extensive these lakes are. None of them will be on the scale of the Great Lake in Rail World, because the map generation settings are different, but it'll help us get an idea of where we should build our walls and things, like how we need to defend. Because like there are two lakes in the south at the moment, and they're quite close to each other, so it could be that they join up a little bit further down, which would be really convenient for our defense, because we'd know that we just need to clear out that area, and then we won't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah, in Rail World we had the terrain segmentation set to low, I think, and in this one we have it set to normal, so we don't get the sort of biomes that we were getting in Rail World. Where Rail World is basically just two and a bit biomes. It's all one massive grasslands. Hold on, we've spotted here a base in production, which I've seen very rarely, really. But of course, with towns having so much colonization going on all the time, it has given us opportunities to watch bases actually being built. So we could see that just a cluster of biters all stood together, and then a biter would just poof out of existence and be replaced by a worm or a base, and that's basically it. So the size of the colonization force, I guess, equates to the size of the resulting base. I guess all the biters will disappear until the base is made, though I guess the new biters will start spawning from the spawners before it's done anyway, so there'll always be biters present. I mean, that was cool to see. We even left it for a while we dealt with another base, so we could watch the production take place, and then we burned it down once we'd gathered the information we wanted. Once we'd done the necessary reconnaissance. So yeah, in Rail World, there's basically just one giant biome of just this sort of grassy area, same as what we're walking around at the moment, I think. And then there's just one giant lake, and that's basically the two biomes that exist. And then in the very far reaches of the northeast, there's a desert biome, and that's it. Whereas in towns, there's a little bit more variability. There's actually like a new biome every couple of thousand tiles, sort of thing, or whatever. So we actually can see different ones. So we have the desert all across the west and things like that, which we wouldn't get in Rail World, because everything's just one huge grassland forest thing. Anyway, we end up attacking a base in the middle of a forest here, which does of course cause a bit of trouble because the forest sets on fire. Luckily we have some grenades handy, which we use to stop the spread of the fire by just blowing up the trees that were about to set on fire, as well as the ones that were on fire, so it just goes out without spreading to the rest of the forest, which is what we want, because if the whole forest burns down, then that's a huge sort of defense against the expansion of the pollution completely removed, and indeed it'll generate a bunch of pollution as well and draw a whole bunch of biter bases in, which will not be fun. So now in between the two southern lakes, we'll explore it sometime later. At the moment we're just going to deal with the bases that are a particular threat to the towns, to the county in general, making sure to set all the behemoths on fire and stuff. I think we've stuck up most of our ammo left this time. It's nice not to worry about being really careful and efficient about it. I'm still trying to do that because it's still it would still be wasteful to just burn things too crazily. I mean, I'm still going pretty crazy by just running into the middle of a base and sort of spinning around, firing flames everywhere. And that one I was being a bit more careful just firing a little bit at each one. But in some of the bases, there's just so much going on that I just run into the middle and then just spin in circles, firing the flamethrower until everything is destroyed. We end up with a little pet biter there. It wasn't doing any damage to me, so I decided to just let it come along till the next one. I was wondering if I could just keep it as a pet, but unfortunately, as soon as I would attack another base, it would get destroyed, which it did. And there's also the danger of it attacking random parts of the factory if it gets close enough to them and forgetting about me, I think. In which case I would have to kill it anyway, which is a shame. It would be nice to keep some pet biters. I could do some stuff like I could herd them into some pens and then keep a collection of different types of biters somewhere in the county. It's a little bit cruel, but then I am just setting them on fire, like at the moment, so there's not much worse I can do. But here are the two bases that I tried to sneak between before and failed with. Now I have the firepower to very quickly dispatch them and continue on my way. And I just get used to like being chased by behemoths to my next target, because it's better than waiting around for them to die and then setting off. And here is the final base in the southwest, back by West Point once again. The last couple of behemoths die, and we go over and grab our one remaining shield that we need. We did have a spare battery in there, but the batteries aren't making much difference to the shield recharge rate. Batteries now have an insane amount of capacity to them, so you just need the one, it seems like, and you don't have any more trouble with it. So now that we don't need the shield so urgently anymore, I reactivate the battery production, but I add a little bit of a splitter situation in to make sure that some of the steel still gets through to the shield production. So it should now be evenly split between the two, and they'll both get finished at roughly the same time, I guess. But we have more work to do. We still have the northwest to finish, at which point we'll have dealt with all the biter bases in the within our territory, basically within the area that we've decided to define as our own. And then we can just get back to normal work and just occasionally deal with the odd base that springs up. It'll be just like old times, in terms of like the biters have escalated since, but now so has my ability to fight back against them. And of course we've got to deal with the bases that have been causing us the infinite amounts of trouble in the middle of the Chipton, Chipton Southbridge, Flaskmere area. I am fed up of these bases, and they are going to see no mercy from me. They've been causing so much trouble by being so far within the pollution range, just constantly launching attacks on all of our towns, and nearly breaking through in Southbridge multiple times. But finally, we have dealt with them, and Southbridge should be safe, and also the south bit of West Chipton there. In fact, all of West Chipton should now be safe, and we'll never need to build the walls that we, for some reason, never bothered building. It'll finally not be under constant threat of being overrun by behemoths. Assuming we keep control of the biter population, we still need to get the wall in place so that it's completely safe, and they can still come up from the south until we do something about that, which will probably involve building another wall. Eventually we'll probably have walls around the whole thing, because the biters have advanced so much now that they are a quite serious threat to any town that I should set up anywhere. And the pollution's going to start expanding. Now that I've got time to work on factories pretty much all the time again, there'll be a lot more pollution being generated, so there'll be a lot more biter bases coming in. And yeah, we basically will have to just build a giant wall. It's the only way to stop them killing us. And I know the parallels that are being drawn, but it is different. This is literally a war. They are actually, we are killing each other all the time. It's, well, whatever. But yeah, we're now we're going a bit out of our way here, killing bases a little bit further along than I need to, but it's sort of because this is where I used to have a front line. I used to clear the bases out about this far, so I decided to come back and push these ones back, the ones that have been rebuilt since I was last here. Just a couple more bases now before we are completely finished, and we've finally arrived up in Fortin, which we haven't been to very much recently. We keep ignoring it. It's pretty much running autonomously at this point. We have it delivering to where it needs to, and we don't need to come over to Fortin to get our ammo anymore. We can just go to West Point, which we've been, of course, visiting quite a lot recently because of the power suit. But of course that's all working now, so we shouldn't need to go there very much anymore. Well, we do have to go to sort out the wall, but apart from that, it should be fine. But that is all of the bases dealt with, so we make our way back into Fortin, just break through the wall, and we'll do a bit of maintenance, seeing as some of the miners around here have run out. We'll add a couple more in as well to keep the copper supply going for all the ammo that we'll probably continue to need, particularly on the walls. And we are pretty much done for today, though. As I'm finishing the episode, I spot that a base has already set itself up over by Frackham again and started launching attacks, of course. But yeah, I decided to go back over to Frackham, seeing as that's where we left the car, and we don't yet have exoskeleton legs to make travelling around the towns a little bit easier. On my way there, I managed to get hit by my own train, but that is because I don't need to worry about that anymore. Now that I have all these shields, I can just hop out of a moving train and risk getting hit by it, because I will tank the hit, and I just got the Golem achievement for that, which was nice. But we run back in Frackham to finish. You can see there's an attack there, but that's all we have time for today, so say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.